Hello, good evening. Welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Hello, here are tonight's main stories.
East Coast operation. As sightseers converge on Bridlington, experts try to remove a 60-foot whale which beached and died yesterday.
Out of respect of the animal, we're trying to do everything that we can in the right way, but it's challenging. We've got a fin whale here that's 17 metres long, probably about 25 tonne in weight.
Young vapers, a worrying trend, shows more than a quarter of test purchases resulted in underage sales, and illegal vapes are on the increase.
Spurred on, the son of former Sheffield Wednesday player Tommy Spur is cancer-free after fighting the disease for more than a year.
And they called it puppy love.
And back on stage, Donny Osmond prepares for a UK tour, and guess where he'll be playing first? Hello, thanks for joining us. First tonight to the story of a huge whale that's died on the beach at Bridlington. The 60-foot fin whale became beached there yesterday and died before it could get back out to sea.
Marine experts are warning the public to keep their distance because the corpse may be diseased and a risk to public health. However, people don't seem to be heeding that advice.
Michael Billington has been following the story on the East Coast.
It's a spectacle that's drawn hundreds of people to the shoreline, hoping to get close to this majestic mammal. After beaching yesterday afternoon, last night the giant creature reached the end of its life, not in the depths of the oceans, but stranded on the sands of Bridlington's South Beach.
You could see it was still alive. Yes, it was still blowing water out of its hole, and still you could see the tail. So it was obviously in some kind of distress. But like I say, yeah, unfortunately, I found out this morning that they wasn't able to save it. So disappointing, really. Yeah.
It could be that it's been quite poorly, and it's got some sort of illness where it's affected its navigation, which has brought it to our shores. It's extremely rare for them to be in our waters. They shouldn't be in the North Sea. They are a deep sea species. They should be in waters with depths of 400 metres plus.
Now a challenging operation led by East Riding Council will get underway in the coming days to remove the 17-metre, 25-tonne whale from the shore.
We're trying to get the whale off the beach in one piece, so we're looking at a sledge, rolling the animal over onto the sledge and then potentially dragging the sledge off the beach and then craning it into a low loader. Easier said than done, but we have to work with the tides, but we also want the public to be respectful of the situation, so we are going to have to cordon off large parts of the beach when we go ahead with this.
Believe it or not, this junior fin whale is actually only around half its adult size, and understandably it's attracted a lot of public attention, but that's where there could be a problem. Experts say they don't know yet what, if any, diseases it could be carrying, and so despite the obvious fascination, they suggest it's best to watch from a distance. Not everyone, though, able to resist the urge to get up close.
They're saying, oh, keep away, but it's just too, once in a lifetime chance to see a whale. Poor thing's dead, but the sheer size of it's phenomenal.
It's quite a sight. You don't come across that every day, do you? So it's very sad, though, to have had its ending on the beach rather than in the sea.
I think it's really sad, the size of it, and yeah, they should be out in the sea, not washed up, really. It's a shame.
Just last month, a sperm whale was washed up and died on Cleethorpes Beach. This sadly becoming an increasingly common and tragic sight on our region's east coast.
Well, Michael can join us now in Bridlington. It's a very sad sight, isn't it? Very unusual as well, and a complicated operation.
Yeah, I would imagine it certainly will be, but perhaps, just perhaps, Mother Nature will give them a helping hand. It's high tide now and you can still just see the whale's body breaking the surface of the water. Now, if the current is strong enough, then maybe the body will be picked up and washed back out to sea. But at 25 tonnes, I think in all likelihood, it will need to be removed by a team of experts. Now, these operations can sometimes take days, if not weeks. And of course, the clock is already ticking because they're hoping that the whale's body will be clear of the beach before even more people turn up for the long bank holiday weekend.
Michael in Bridlington, thank you very much.
Incredible pictures there. Now then, moving on, and you might remember last November we told you the story of little Rio Spur, the 4-year-old son of a former Sheffield Wednesday and Doncaster footballer who was battling a rare form of kidney cancer.
Well, we've got some good news. After months of intensive chemo and radiotherapy, the doctors treating Rio have revealed he's cancer-free.
That really is fantastic news, but with all cancers there is still a chance of a relapse. So Rio's dad, Tommy, and mum, Chloe, are continuing to raise money should he need further treatment abroad. Chris Dawkes has been to see them.
A chip off the old block. Little Rio kicking a ball around with his dad, the former footballer Tommy Spur, like any other 4-year-old boy. But for this family, the last 12 months have been anything but carefree. In April 2022, Rio was diagnosed with Wilms tumour, an aggressive and rare form of cancer. His kidney was removed and Rio had intensive chemo and radiotherapy to treat the cancer on his lungs. We visited the family home in Blackburn not long after, and remarkably, Rio was his happy, fun-loving self.
So I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah.
Those lyrics poignant then, more prophetic now. Last week, Tommy and Chloe were told Rio is cancer-free.
Standing.
I don't think I've ever been so nervous waiting to go into the consultant's sort of office, and for him to sit there so calmly and tell us everything we've been wanting to hear was just unbelievable.
For him to show us the before and after scan images, moving images, and say, you know, this was here before and there's nothing there now, no evidence of disease at all. It was, like we say, the best possible news, and to be then talking about moving forwards and what happens next and Rio's future it's just amazing.
Did he know what's going on?
I don't think. A little bit. We know that we're not going to be going to hospital. We're not going to be seeing the doctors and nurses as much now, are we?
How do you feel about that, Rio?
Happy.
Such is the nature of Rio's disease, there is a 1 in 2 chance the cancer could return. As such, Tommy is continuing to raise money should the family need to travel overseas for further treatment. Next Sunday, Tommy and a few of his old teammates will pull on their boots again for a charity match between legends of both Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United at the city's Olympic Legacy Park.
The treatments available on the NHS there's very, very little that they'll be able to do for him, because he's basically had the maximum amount of treatment for the anaplastic features which Rio's tumour had. We couldn't forgive ourselves that if it did happen, we weren't in a position where we could try and do something about it and give him 5-10% extra chance of beating it.
But for now, the family can start planning their future. A holiday is first on the agenda, but who knows, Rio might one day follow in his old man's footsteps. Chris Dawkes, ITV News, Sheffield.
Oh, so good to see Rio happy and well.
Yeah, nice to have a story with a happy ending.
Yeah. Well, next, to the impact of teenage vaping, which one teacher in Lincolnshire has described as a social disease.
Data shared with Calendar shows that more than 25% of shops tested in the county sold vapes to underage teenagers in the last 12 months.
Now, Trading Standards have started holding special workshops in schools in a bid to deter teenagers from latching on to this dangerous trend. Amelia Beckett reports.
Wow. So all of these are illegal?
Every single vape in here is illegal.
These are just some of the thousands of illegal vapes seized across Lincolnshire in the past few months. Some contain up to 5 times the legal limit of nicotine. And getting them off the streets is now one of Trading Standards' main priorities, not least because of the number of them making their way into the hands of teenagers.
Now the big concern is that if a child gets one of these products, that they can be using that product for a long time. And so therefore the chances of them gaining a nicotine addiction can be far more increased.
Would you say this is your greatest challenge at the moment?
Yes.
Data shared with ITV Calendar shows over the past year 27% of test purchases resulted in an underage volunteer being sold a vape. For comparison, less than 10% of test purchases for cigarettes and alcohol resulted in an underage sale. And the latest NHS data shows that 18% of 15-year-olds now use an e-cigarette.
Well, there are two different types of them out there. They are...
This special workshop on the dangers of vaping is now delivered in schools across the county. And here at the William Lovell Academy in Stickney, they were eager to sign up after seeing the impact vaping was having on its students.
So we've had issues of older students putting pressure on younger children to try these things out. A little bit of private enterprise on the school premises. In my experience as a teacher, probably the greatest challenge that we faced.
Some people just think that it's fun, but it really isn't, because it can cause really bad health issues.
It smells nice, yeah, but it's horrible.
So it's good to see the chemicals that are in it, because you don't really know. All you know is nicotine and you don't really know anything else.
One Lincolnshire MP is so concerned, she wants disposable vapes banned altogether.
The number of children vaping is increasing exponentially at the moment. We're seeing huge numbers of particularly teenage girls taking up vaping. We don't know what the long-term harm effects may be. We know that it's much better not to vape.
The government's announced it will be launching an illicit vapes enforcement squad to crack down on these underage sales. And while a complete ban seems unlikely, Dan and his team will keep working hard to stop these falling into the wrong hands. Amelia Beckett, ITV News, Lincolnshire.
Now you're watching Wednesday's calendar, and still to come tonight, Toy Story, how a library swap shop could keep children entertained longer.
And it's been a decent day today, mostly dry from Windscar to Wingerworth. It's been whispery cirrus cloud and a little bit of fair weather cumulus. Can we hang on? Tomorrow, all the detail a little later on.
Some more news now. A man who strangled his girlfriend to death after she confronted him over sexual assault allegations has been jailed for life. Claire Armstrong was murdered at her home in Messingham in North Lincolnshire in November last year. The mother of three had ended their relationship after hearing claims her partner had assaulted a teenager. Ashley Kemp has been jailed for a minimum of 19 years.
The England and Wales Cricket Board has recommended that 6 former Yorkshire players are fined and reprimanded in the wake of the racism scandal.
Lawyers for Gary Ballance, the only one to admit the charges against him, said that there was a mutual acceptance of the discriminatory language at the club at the time, which got worse and wasn't stopped.
Katie Oscroft has been following today's independent hearing into allegations first raised by former player Azim Rafiq. Katie.
Ian, the ECB today outlined the sanctions it believes should be placed on each of 6 players found to have used racist language whilst at the club. An independent panel will decide whether to impose them. Now, Gary Ballance say the ECB should be reprimanded, ordered to pay £8,000, the biggest fine suggested, and urged to go on an education course about racist attitudes. He's just retired from the game, and his lawyer said that he's already suffered financially because of his involvement with these proceedings, and he was playing in a culture in which this language was normalised. Now, just to recap, this all came about after the former bowler Azim Rafiq spoke about the racism he'd endured during 2 spells at Yorkshire. He gave evidence at a previous hearing, and the other former players facing sanctions are Tim Bresnan, Matthew Hoggard and John Blaine, and also coaches Andrew Gale and Richard Pyra. None of those 5 took any part in these proceedings, but the former England captain Michael Vaughan did, and he was cleared last March of using discriminatory language.
And Katie, what happens to the club as a whole?
Well, Yorkshire has admitted from the start the systemic use of racist language, failing to stop it over a prolonged period. But it began the season in April not knowing what the sanctions were against it. It still doesn't know, and it will be at least the end of June before it finds out. Now, these 6 players, they won't have their sanctions confirmed or otherwise for several weeks.
That's Katie Oscroft reporting from Westminster.
Now, it's a fact, isn't it, that none of us are getting any younger.
That is a fact.
And as grey hairs and wrinkles start to appear, it's no wonder that people are tempted to try non-surgical cosmetic procedures such as Botox to look their best.
But as its popularity booms, complaints have hit a record high, and there are calls for more to be done to crack down on dodgy work, especially as aesthetic practitioners aren't regulated in the UK. Amrit Birdie's been investigating.
In a world of selfies and social media, it might come as no surprise that the demand for Botox, dermal fillers and other aesthetic treatments has reached an all-time high. Michelle was one of the thousands of people who regularly got these procedures done, but she's also part of a growing number who have had something go dangerously wrong.
My Botox had caused ptosis, so that had leaked into a muscle which had caused the drooping of the eyelid. The misplacement of the filler, which was the swelling that I had under my eye, and my lips had a considerable amount of lumps in them. They'd lost their shape. I struggled to look in the mirror because I felt I looked horrendous. It definitely did, and it's definitely made me think twice about any further treatments or, getting anything done in the future.
Michelle told us the clinic she used had been doing these procedures for many years and nothing like that had ever happened before. She was fully refunded for the treatment. Complaints like Michelle's totalled almost 3,000 last year, according to group Save Face, who run a government-approved practitioner register. Clinics on their register, like this one in Brinsworth near Rotherham, say they are busier than ever.
I have seen a big increase in demand, especially since COVID and lockdown lifted. I have found people are wanting to have more anti-wrinkle treatments, more dermal fillers. I believe this is because people were doing Zoom calls, video calls, and they were just noticing or spending more time looking at themselves. So since then I have seen a good increase in demand from customers.
Under current rules, there are no mandatory qualifications for non-surgical cosmetic practitioners, and Save Face wants that to change.
Scarily, in the UK, anybody can inject these treatments. A layperson that's been on a day's training course can inject you, and there's nothing to stop them from doing that. These treatments are often trivialised. They don't appreciate that they're medical interventions. They just perceive them as everyday beauty treatments. And so that when they see cheap deals and time-limited offers, they think they're getting a bargain, where in actual fact, it ends up costing them far more in the long run because there's a higher chance of complications and adverse reactions.
The government told ITV News that they are working to introduce a licensing scheme for non-surgical cosmetic procedures in England, which will make it an offence for anyone to carry out certain non-surgical procedures without a licence. But until the law changes, victims of dodgy work like Michelle will have to live with the sometimes life-changing consequences. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Now, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Charlene White.
Coming up, security ramps up in the capital ahead of Saturday's coronation. Last night, a rehearsal of the procession took place. Now, officers reveal the scale of the policing operation. We'll have the details. A 14-year-old in Serbia kills 8 children at a primary school shooting. And we have a special report looking back on the life of the country's future queen, Camilla, and her path to royalty. So join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
We will indeed. Thanks very much. I've lost the plot after that last story. Right, now then, Laura, I've got a question for you. Have you still got any of your childhood toys?
Well, as luck would have it, I have one just here. Actually, do you remember these? 1980s.
I do.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it on and then it's going to irritate us. Takes you back in time, doesn't it? So this actually isn't mine, it's my kids'.
Right.
But I bought it because it reminded me of the one that I had.
Oh, so it's kind of a modern-day version of a toy you used to play with. I remember it used to start off really easy, didn't it? And then it used to get really hard. But when it comes to toys, we're used to borrowing books, aren't we? But what about the idea of borrowing toys? Research from the British Heart Foundation shows children get bored of new toys within a month, and there's thought to be around 162 million unused toys in the UK.
Well, Catherine Walker has been to visit a toy library to see what difference they could make to parents in our region.
Toys can play a key role in children's development, but they're often costly and outgrown quickly. It's a puzzle this toy library in Lincoln has been working hard to solve.
So much the same as a book library, you can come along and you can borrow the toy. So our toys go out on a 28-day basis, and then you can hire for up to from £1.50 really up to about £5. So it's a really, really cheap and cost-effective way of having a turnover of toys.
These toy libraries aren't just helping parents' pockets, they're hoping to help the environment too. A fifth of parents say their children lose interest in new toys after just 11 hours, meaning many are ending up in landfill.
This is really a supply issue, that we're being flooded with these cheap, single-use toys that are often made out of hard plastics, and this means that they're hard to recycle in of themselves. They're often designed for a really short playtime, so they're designed for fun, instant impact for kids. They're not designed to last like they were in previous generations.
With an estimated 160 million unused toys across the UK, toy libraries like this have become popular with parents.
We get to have a rotation of toys and don't have to obviously invest in things with kids being quite fickle about their toys and changing their minds. Always we can try things before we actually buy them.
So environment is really, really important. I'm also a single mum, so money isn't, everywhere. So to be able to take that home for a couple of weeks, then she gets bored, it is just fun, it is great.
As more parents turn to second-hand toys, safety experts say they must use libraries with strict safety checks.
Obviously, they're not going to be in the same state as when they were brand new, so there might be bits broken off or sharp edges formed or cracks which could form sharp edges. But the main concern is if they're very old, is that the legislation has changed and rules are more stringent now. So in theory, you could be using an unsafe toy.
Well-made and safe toys can help children learn all important skills. And by reusing them, toy libraries hope to play their part in sustainable parenting. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
Now, have you turned it off?
Well, I'm hoping that I have, but Simon says, we might get going again.
What about Kerry? What does Kerry says today?
Oh, see what you did there. Yeah.
What do you reckon, Kez?
I don't remember that one.
You're too young.
You were deprived.
Yeah, I was definitely not around. It's been gorgeous today, hasn't it?
Beautiful.
Lots of beautiful whispery cirrus cloud, non-rain-bearing cloud, nothing too threatening. So we've had some really nice photos. This one from Cleethorpes Pier, a big thank you to Chris. Also this one from Sally Johnston, just turning the sunshine a little bit hazy, but some pretty patterns in the sky. We basically had high pressure in charge, dry air rising, and any kind of moisture at between 20 and 40,000 feet pretty much froze and gave us these great scenes. So a big thank you for sharing. Now, I did mention yesterday that it was going to be a bit of a wind chill this week, particularly with an easterly developing, especially as we head into tomorrow. At the coastline tomorrow, probably around 10 Celsius at best. It's going to feel more like 5 or 6 Celsius, but we're going to have a very similar weather day to what we've had around the region today, just stronger winds. Now, the question is the coronation, isn't it?
Oh, yes, we need to know.
We would like some good weather for it.
This is London. Of course, it's what's happening in London for the King and anyone watching television, and it is going to turn more unsettled as the day progresses, and this is kind of quite sort of, promising. It might not quite be as nice as that. It might start to cloud up a little bit from 1 o'clock onwards, but the temperatures are okay, the winds are okay, so, a shower at best.
That's
great.
right.
Not great. But the Met Office have given us a map pretty much for Friday, which is when I guess a lot of people are setting stuff up. So we're in this C bracket, the one at the bottom. Fairly cloudy to start, but it will brighten up and then the temperatures rise, then the showers get going, and on Friday those showers could be heavy, thundery, and we could get a fair amount of rainfall. And that's the problem as we head into Saturday, which is now looking a little bit better for us. We're in this blue slice, which is sunny spells and showers, and if you get in the sunshine it will feel pretty nice, but there is the risk of some persistent rain later. So it's as we head through into the latter part of Saturday that it might turn a bit unsettled. So it's not great for all the marquees and things going on in the fields or anything, is it? But it
could be worse.
Could be worse.
Could be worse, couldn't it? Let's look on the bright
yeah.
side. Thank you. Finally tonight, he's been in the business for 6 decades and has spent more than 300 weeks in the UK charts. We're talking about Donny Osmond.
Yeah, he shot to fame, of course, in the 1970s with his brothers as part of the Osmonds before a successful solo career. Now he's preparing to go on tour later this year, and guess what? His first venue is the Bonus Arena in Hull. Natalie Bohr has been to meet him.
He's spent a lifetime in the spotlight, hitting the stage with his brothers at just 5 years old. And then there was this.
And they called it Puppy Love.
Donny Donny Osmond has sold 100 million records worldwide and made 65 albums. But after 60 years in the business, he's showing no signs of slowing down.
Donny, it's lovely to meet you.
Good to see you too.
You're over here in the UK with your Vegas show, and you haven't been here for about 6 years.
That's right.
What are you looking forward to now that you're going to be over here?
The UK is like my second home, but this show in particular is a show that I could hardly wait for the audiences to see because it's all inclusive. Everything I've done in 6 decades of show business in one show. Because there's a segment, in fact, I call it the request segment. I put all 65 albums on the huge screen behind
Just 65?
me. Just 65. But I have to go to 68, then I'll beat Elvis. Okay, that's my goal. But 65 albums, and anyone in the audience can pick any song I've ever recorded on any album, and we do it just like that.
When you first came over here with your brothers to the UK, I mean, you were so overwhelmed with fans, the balcony collapsed at Heathrow.
Oh, yes. We were banned from Heathrow. The only way we could get into London is we flew into Scotland and got on a secret train, and we were trained down to London. That's how we could get into the city. I've said this time and time again, and I honestly believe it, not just because I'm on camera right now. I do have the most loyal fans in the world.
Can you ever imagine a time where you're not going to be singing and not going to be performing?
No, not really. I mean, somebody's asked me so many times, people say, when are you going to retire? I don't know what that word means. I don't know what retire means. I don't want to know. Because as long as I'm able to get on stage and able to sing and able to perform and there's an audience, I will be there.
This is not a puppy love.
And Donny kicks off his UK tour in November. Natalie Bohr, ITV News.
And if you're interested, Donny's due in Hull in November, right at the very start of that tour.
Better get those tickets in then.
You better, you'll be there, won't you?
I will.
I know you.
Here's Kerry with the weather.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again, a decent day across the region today with high pressure in charge, but those winds are going to pick up as we head through into tomorrow. But definitely over the last few days, seeing some decent breaks and feeling quite nice and warm in the sunshine, but where we've had a little bit more cloud and exposure to the breeze, certainly out towards the coast, it has felt quite chilly. Now that high pressure is migrating north and eastwards and has already, despite the dry and bright conditions across the region today, brought on an increase in that wind from the southeast during the course of the afternoon and overnight. Tonight it will just continue to freshen as we head into the early hours. So very similar to last night, quite quiet, cloud coming and going, some clear spells and dry. Towns and cities 6s and 7s, but pretty much like last night in shelter, temperatures could get to the low single figures. So fresh enough as we head towards tomorrow morning. This was this morning. A big thank you to Graham for sharing 5:21 and 8:37 are your sun times for Thursday. So most of daylight hours tomorrow it will be dry. There'll be cloud coming and going, so some decent sunny breaks, but noticeably the winds will be stronger and will be colder and will come in from the east. Really quite blustery out towards the coast and right over the tops, and feeling more like 5 or 6, or inland 12 to 14 Celsius. That's about the average for the time of year, to be honest. And then as we head through tomorrow night, we've got a weather front approaching, pushing north and eastwards, spiralling around that, quite showery for much of Friday. There will be some warm sunny spells, but the showers could be quite frequent into the afternoon, could be heavy, could be thundery. Hopefully a dry start on Saturday, bit of cloud, then some showers, then rain later. Cloudy and damp Sunday, and still a bit of a question mark at the moment about Monday.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
So there you go, it's not cold. And guess what?
What?
The yarn bombers are back. Check this out, with a royal twist. The knitters have been knitting.
Oh, that's great.
Anything you see, yeah, keep it coming.
I've seen a few of those about, actually. They're brilliant.
Absolutely.
That's it. I'm back at 10 to 11. Thanks very much for watching us, and I'll see you later.
Good night.
Night.
Bye-bye.